So, very warm and a formal welcome to all of you on this webinar on Will Playwright Replace Selenium by Vignesh S, who is a SQA software quality engineer at N26. Uh, we're doing this in collaboration with BrowserStack, and we're super thankful to them because it's to do companies like BrowserStack that were able to do so many such events regularly, consistently, without charging anything to our participants. And BrowserStack is our exclusive sponsor for all our community events and premium sponsor for all our conferences. So huge shout out to them. Now coming to Vignesh, okay, Vignesh is a senior automation engineer. He has deep expertise in web automation, mobile automation, API, and performance testing. He has worked in industry for 9+ years. Apart from working, Vignesh likes to teach a lot, and he's a passionate educator who has taught over 3,000 plus students over the last 5 years. So his courses on platforms are very popular, and he's a very passionate teacher and who can educate very well. So with that, let me just call Vignesh on stage to you all. Hi Vignesh, you are on stage.
Hey Ashtosh, thank you. Hey guys, good evening. Am I audible, Ashtosh? Is it clear?
Yes.
Perfect.
So I'll
Thank you.
hide my hand, Vignesh. It is yours. Please carry on.
Thank you so much. So, hey everyone. Thanks for joining in this webinar. I know it's 9 p.m. It's pretty hard. You have to finish up your works and then join for this. So, it shows how motivated you guys are to join for this webinar and learn about Playwright. So, super excited to be part of this webinar. So, let me go ahead and share my screen and we can quickly start with the presentation. Yeah, I guess my screen is visible. Can I get some couple of yes in my chat to see if the screen is visible? Yes, yes, perfect. Thank you. Awesome. So this webinar is purely about Playwright, as everyone has already been aware of. So let us quickly see what are we going to dive in for the next 1 hour. So the agenda is pretty simple, guys. So first we will do a quick introduction to Playwright. We'll understand what is Playwright. Many of you might already know what a Playwright is, but a quick introduction for the folks who may not be aware of the tool, which is Playwright. And then we will see is Playwright is really popular, because obviously we are seeing the tool being emphasized in many social medias, LinkedIn, and all conferences. Is it that really popular? We will see with statistics if it's really popular comparing to other tools. And always the Playwright will be compared with Selenium. You can see a lot of posts in recent times that saying that Playwright will kill Selenium in future. This Playwright is going to replace Selenium in future. So we will see if that is true, if Playwright is really going to replace Selenium in future. I'm taking Selenium here as a simple example, which it's going to be applied for all the other famous tools such as Cypress, WebDriver, everything. And then all of these would be in the slides, but I always prefer more into the demo perspective. So let us quickly see a quick demo how to install Playwright, how to quickly start with the Playwright and write a simple test to see how easy it is. Because the main agenda of this call is not to just say about how good the Playwright is, also to demo how quickly you can adapt your project's test into Playwright's world. And last is we'll have a Q&A section. This is the quick agenda which we're going to do for the next 1 hour. So before we starting into the courses, just want to give a bit brief introduction about myself. So I'm Vignesh. I'm currently working in Germany as a software quality engineer in N26. So I have close to 9+ years of experience. That's my technical experience with related to the quality engineering. But sooner in my career, I already started with my experience in training people. So close to last 5+ years, actually the date has yet to be updated. It's close to 6 years now. So close to 6 years, I have been training folks in automation, close to 3,500 students, both in online and offline mode. So when I mean online, I'm an experienced Udemy instructor. I'm also a corporate trainer. I'm also a career coach for people who are looking to how to get onboarded with QA, manually switching from manual to automation, all kinds of career coach I'm giving. And recently, for the last 2 to 3 years, I'm expertise on a Playwright and trained more than 1,500 students. Again, this is a count which we can do for both online and offline events. So when I meant I have trained all the students like close to 4,000. All of them are including on all the popular automation tools such as web automation, mobile automations, API automation testing, and even performance testing tools. And these are the small glimpses of all the tools and skill set which I have been expertise and I'm giving the training for. For instance, with UI, you can see it's Selenium, Cypress, Playwright, WebDriver, APM. And for API automation, I would be doing REST Assured, Postman. For performance, I'm doing Gatling and JMeter. And these are the languages which I'm profound experience with. So that's a quick summary about myself. Now let's quickly see what is Playwright. Before I give that answer, I guys, this webinar should not be monotonous. I always wanted it to be as interactable as possible. Can you guys give me just one word? What do you think a playwright is? It could be right, it could be wrong. That's completely fine. But I just want to keep this session interactable. So just drop the messages. What do you think a playwright is? Quickly, just 1 or 2 words. What do you think the playwright tool is? Open source automation framework, web automation framework by Microsoft. Okay, web automation, Microsoft for UI automation. Perfect. You guys are done a pretty good job in analyzing what is Playwright. So that's the same thing which you're going to look into. So what is Playwright? Playwright is an open source web automation framework developed by Microsoft, got released on 31st January 2020, which is just 4 years back approximately. It's a Node.js library automation tool which provides the ability to automate browser tasks in Chromium, Firefox, WebKit with a single API. So what it means by that in a nutshell, basically Playwright is an open source web automation tool which supports the major browsers such as Chromium, Firefox, and WebKit, all of them packaged into a single API. And the most important thing is Playwright is written in TypeScript. For the people who doesn't know what a TypeScript is nothing but a superset of JavaScript. Like assume that TypeScript is nothing but like a wrapper built on top of the JavaScript that adds the optional static typing and other features to the language. TypeScript has n number of like features compared to JavaScript. We'll see all of them in later part. Now, we have seen what is TypeScript in a very simple nutshell. We already knew that as same as was Ashutosh mentioned, Playwright is taking up a huge popularity in recent times. Obviously, something will not get popular unless it has some good features. So let us see what are the key features that Playwright holds. The first major key feature is that Playwright supports the all modern rendering engines, including Chromium, WebKit, and Firefox. What it means by that. For instance, if you take up any other automation tool, let's say Selenium do support all other engines, but the problem is it doesn't support on native. What it means by that, which means during the installation itself, you can't able to expect the Selenium to support for all the browsers. You need to do all the customizations, all the corresponding driver installations for that. But with Playwright, you don't have to do anything. Everything will come as part of the installation file. So when you install Playwright will be capable to run the same test in Chrome, in Firefox, in WebKit. So when I mean WebKit is nothing but the base engine. On top of it, the Safari browser, which has been built on. And next most important thing is cross platform. So there is people will get bit misconcepted between cross browser and cross platform. Simple terminology, cross browser means supporting in all browsers. Cross platform means supporting in all OS platforms. So Playwright is super capable to run the same way how it works in Mac, Windows, Linux, being it running in local, or let's say you have just an Ubuntu server in your CI pipeline, it even runs over there without any issues. The third most important key feature is the number of languages the Playwright support. Playwright is being built on top of TypeScript, which we have seen in the previous slides, but doesn't mean that Playwright will that you can write your test only in TypeScript with Playwright. No, that's not the case. With Playwright, you can write your test cases with JavaScript, Python, .NET, Java, and everything. But predominantly, the Playwright is being built on top of TypeScript, so all the native APIs are built in TypeScript. And next is Playwright is a reliable automation tool. What I means by that, most of you who already have some experience in web automation, you would be capable of writing a test cases in, let's say, in Selenium or Cypress or anything. Most of the time, you would get up ending issues by having a flaky test. What it means by flaky test. So let's say you run a test today, the test will get passed. Tomorrow you run it, the test will get passed. But all of a sudden, a bug will be finding in your test for any reason. The locators could be same, everything could be same, but for some reason, there could be a flakiness in your test. It's very hard to identify why your tests are failing in a flaky manner. But once you entered into the Playwright world, the word flaky will be completely removed. Why? Because Playwright handles the flakiness in browsers, ensuring the stable and consistent automation. So Playwright by default takes care of all the works. You don't have to do any special coding or any customization in an automation. Everything has been taken care by the Playwright. And next, the most important thing for any automation tester is, let's say if your test is failing, your tool should be supported to give an debug, which is very simple for you to read the logs and directly go there over fixing it. So with Playwright, it's very easy to do a debugging because Playwright will give a really good stack traces, and the debugging the code by using the Playwright is much more simpler compared to other tools. We have some more set of key features of Playwright. The most important feature, at least according to me, is the auto wait. What it means by auto wait. Most of us, when we are working in any modern web application, for example, let's say I'm taking an e-commerce platform. I enter all my card details. I click on pay button. Let's say I'm automating Amazon. When I click on pay button, obviously Amazon is not the vendor which will try to take the money out from our wallet. It's a third party vendor, something like Stripe, Visa, or MasterCard. So technically, the Amazon API need to go and call the Master or Visa service API. From there, we need to get the response. So ideally, there might be some delays. When you're trying to automate these kinds of scenarios in Selenium, most of the time you'd be getting ending failure because the waiting was not happening properly. What I mean by waiting, so the button continue will be enabled only when the master or Visa API is giving us that, hey, this is an authenticated credit card user, something like that. But when you're doing with Playwright, Playwright is super smart. It will understand that there is an API call being triggered unless I'm getting the responses back, and the button, unless it's not turning into enabled state, I will not move forward in the test. It will wait for the desired time. Let it be 30 seconds or 40 seconds, whatever the time we are feeding up, it will be automatically waiting for it. Once the button turns into an enable state, it will do automatically with the testing. This is very, very important feature in terms of automation testing, because in most of the cases, all your tests are getting flaky because of the wait was not enabled properly. And next is in terms of assertion. A good automation test, which means having a good assertion. So when you're working with other tools, you have to install some other dependencies such as chai or some other test assertion, something like that. But when it comes to Playwright, Playwright has an inbuilt web first assertion. What I means by that, I have already told you that Playwright is typically designed for a web automation. So Playwright assertions are created specifically for the dynamic web. So as we are all into the latest dynamic engines, like we already moved from Angular to React and all Vue.js. So all the assertions have been designed specifically to target to new modern web engines. And the most important thing is, not most of the companies, but at least in some companies I'm seeing, they are developing on top of frames and shadow dom. It's really hard for automating these kinds of scenarios with Selenium and other tools. But with Playwright, it's super easy. You don't have to write any separate lines of code. Automatically, Playwright will understand that this particular piece of locator or something is under a shadow dom. So it will automatically convert your locators into the shadow dom related things, and you can able to work with it in a simple, easy manner. And the last second last point is, Playwright creates a browser context for each test. What I mean by that, for instance, just imagine you are having 100 tests with you. So when you run all these 100 tests, let's say you're running it either in parallel mode or let's say in serial mode with other tools such as Selenium, it will try to, let's say I'm taking an example with parallel. Let's say it's going to run 5 threads in parallel. What happens is, let's say Selenium will pop up 5 Chrome browsers or something, and it will try to allocate each test to each browser. At the most important problem with Selenium and other tools is the maintaining of the context. What it means by that, when it tries to run the test with one browser context, with the same browser context, the second test will be trying to execute. But with Playwright, for every test, a different browser context will be initiated. The advantage of this is the execution of one test result will not be hampered by the execution of other test results. Basically, it is like running all the tests in a separate browser context. And the last most important point is, Playwright as an inbuilt code generation part. So what it means by code generation? Let's say you're a manual tester. You wanted to get into automation, but you're not having much context on how to write a TypeScript code, how to write a Playwright code. So what Playwright has did is, they have a code generator tool inbuilt in Playwright. So you can just enable the code generator, which we will see in another 15 minutes, where you can turn on that record. You can do all those actions in your browser. Automatically, Playwright will write the actual TypeScript Playwright code for you. You can just copy and paste it in your spec file. From there you can try to execute it and it will work 100%. So these are the most important key features of Playwright. So how are you guys feeling by hearing all these Playwright features? Is it exciting? What do you guys think about Playwright? Like, is it exciting? You wanted to know more about the Playwright, what it is? You can drop a message.
Yeah, Vignesh, there is a question by Pranav. Okay, because
There's a
it's
question.
important to
Okay.
have it here.
um
Okay.
Is it okay, Ashutosh, if we are taking the questions? Okay, Selenium
Yeah, because
runs
this
in
is related to the feature sets only. So right now, which is related topic, we are
okay.
recording.
Selenium runs in Chrome, but Playwright runs in Chromium. Will cause a different. Not really, Pranav. So basically, even Selenium will it's your running pointing to the Chrome. What I mean by that. For example, if you want your test to run in Chrome with Selenium, you have to install the corresponding driver. So that's where the gap is being bridged. But with Playwright, all the Chromium-based browsers such as Chrome or Opera, all these are separate browsers but built on top of Chromium. For instance, if this works in Chrome, the same will work in Opera too. That's the understanding on that. And one other question, maybe I'll take it before I'm moving to next one. Since Playwright is being maintained by Microsoft, will they monetize certain features of Playwright in the long run? Since debugging features are excellent. That's a very good question, Kishan. Unfortunately, I have no answer for that. But that's the fear with everyone has it because it's been created by Microsoft. But at least with the trend which I'm seeing it, Playwright will not be 100% monetized by Microsoft because they know that until it's being open source, it will have a good increase in number of users. Maybe the most important features can be monetized the same way how the Cypress is, but that part we are not sure, Kishan, unfortunately. Awesome, cool. I see couple of
Yeah, we can move forward now. We can move forward now.
yeah, okay, thanks, Esther. So I see couple of exciting, awesome. Now we'll proceed forward with the furthermore slides. Now, so far we have seen what is Playwright, what are the key features of Playwright, and all those things. Now, I wanted to say that I'm saying, let's say Vignesh, as Vignesh, I'm saying Playwright is very popular. You should not believe me. Obviously, there should be some statistics saying that Playwright is really being popular. What is that statistics? There is a website which is called NPM Trends. So as I told you, as Playwright is a Node.js module. So if you wanted to download the Playwright, all the Playwright will be getting downloaded from the central NPM repository. So central NPM repository has a NPM trends where they are tracking how many playwrights are being downloaded over the years. Now, if you see this diagram, you can clearly see from the range of 2016. I'm not sure how viewable it is. I guess now I zoomed it. So you can see from 2016, this chart being grown up. So let me zoom it one more time. So here you can see from 2016 the chart being grown up, and all the green is the Selenium driver because I told you that Playwright has been introduced on 2020. So back in 2016 it was only the Selenium which is ruling the entire web automation. So it was all Selenium which is being downloaded. But if I move slowly towards 2018 and 2019, you can see that there is a blue spike which is coming up, which is Cypress, because at that point of a time Cypress was a really good competitor for Selenium. So you can see it slowly gets increased over a period until 2023. You can see Cypress is in top. It already surpassed Selenium, and you can see Cypress is being in top. But if you closely observe that orange color, which is in the bottom, until 2022, because it's been Playwright has been created on 2020, but at the initial stage, it was not being very popular because of all the new Cypress trends and everything. But if you notice the orange graph until 2023, even at the beginning of 2024 it was in a very increasing phase, but once it started touching the 2024, you can see by now it's already surpassed the Cypress, already it surpassed Selenium long back in 2023 mid itself. But to take over ahead of the Cypress, it took it one more year. But currently it is Playwright which is in number one in terms of the downloads as per the NPM trends. If you want to know more about it, you can go to this link, like post this meeting. If you want to know about different tools or something, you can go to this website, which is NPM Trends, and here you can compare with multiple tools as you wanted. But with this graph, it is clearly shown that currently, as of now, it is Playwright, which is number one being in market, which surpassed both the Cypress, Selenium, WebDriver, Puppeteer. You can take any tool. Among all of them, it is Playwright, which is popular. Now, I have already showed you that what is Playwright, what are the key features of Playwright, and it is super popular. Now, you might be getting a question, Vignesh, okay, all are right, it is popular, but why it is being super popular? To understand why it is being popular and why is Playwright being loved compared to other tools, we need to understand the architectural differences between Playwright and other tools. For example, I'm taking Selenium here. Before we are jumping into what is the Playwright's architecture, we will understand what is Selenium architecture so that you can understand what is the negative or what is the not so good which is happening in Selenium and how Playwright is being overcoming that. So if you see, this is the Selenium architecture. So here you can see that whatever Selenium client library, which means all the codes which we are writing as part of the test. So you can write in Java, Python, Ruby, anything. So whatever the test you write, and when you execute the test, how Selenium will work behind the screen is all the tests will be converted into a JSON, and to the server it will be sent on a protocol which is called as HTTP via protocol. So this is the protocol which is being used by the Selenium. Now just imagine a scenario. Let's say I'm taking an example between myself and Ashutosh. I know only Tamil. Ashutosh only knows Hindi. For instance, if we both need to converse, I can't able to converse with him directly because Ashutosh can't understand Hindi. Similarly, Ashutosh can't understand Tamil, and let's say I can't understand Hindi. So we need a middleman. Let's say Shashank. Shashank would be the middleman who knows both Hindi as well as Tamil. So he will listen my speech in Tamil and convert that to Hindi to Ashutosh, and whatever Ashutosh is saying in Hindi, he will convert it back to Tamil and say to me. So that middleman here is called as the browser driver. So all the JSON via protocol over HTTP will be not directly sent to the browsers, but it will be sent to this browser driver. So that's the reason. I'm not sure who asked that question. If we wanted to work with Chrome, we also need a Chrome driver. If you wanted to work with Firefox, we need a Firefox driver. So we need that middleman. So all our codes will be speaking to the middleman. From there, it will go to the driver. Sorry, from there it will go to the server. In this case, it's the browsers. And once browser does the action, it will give a response back saying that, hey, I'm done with it. You can inform to the test. So how this works? If the Selenium test says, hey, open Google website, so that will be sent as a single command over JSON via protocol to the driver. From driver, it will go to the browser. Browser will open the Google website. Once it finished up a process which is opening up the website, immediately it will give a response back saying that, hey, see, I have opened the Google website. Now this response will go back to the test. If you notice one point, everything is to and fro, and all of them is being handled by the driver. Now, why it is a pain compared to the Playwright? First, we'll understand Playwright. Now we will see that the entire middleman is being removed in the Playwright architecture, and how come it is a super improvement over Selenium. Now, this is the Playwright architecture. If you see all the tests which we write, again being in TypeScript or JavaScript, doesn't matter. All these tests will be sent to the, like from the Playwright, it will be sent directly to the browser via WebSocket. So in previous Selenium, we are seeing the protocol they are using is JSON via protocol or HTTP via protocol. But here, all of them are being done under the WebSocket protocol. The advantage of this is your test will directly speak to the browsers. The same example, in my case, I also know Hindi. Ashutosh also know Hindi. I don't need Shashank as a middleman. I can directly converse with Ashutosh. The advantage of this is it is not flaky and it is much, much, much more faster compared to Selenium. If you will see in real time when you started doing it, like let's say your tests are running like say 1 minute in Selenium, it will run more than less than 30 seconds or half of it in Playwright because it removes the entire dependency on the middleman. All the tests will directly execute in the browser via the WebSocket. I specifically mentioned this WebSocket and JSON via protocol specifically. The reason is you also need to understand what is the difference will introduce because of this WebSocket versus HTTP connection. First, let us see what is the HTTP connection, then we can see the WebSocket connection. In the HTTP connection, again, the client, which means is the Selenium test which we write, and this is the browser. Imagine the cloud symbol is the browser. All the requests which is happening will be a single request and single response connected by a termination. What it means by that? The same example, when the Selenium test is saying to the browser, hey, please open Google Chrome or the Google website. So once it opens the Google's website, it gives a response back and the connection will be terminated. So for every command to execute, the Selenium need to establish a connection with the server. Imagine your test need to do 100 steps. For 100 steps, it needs to connect 100 times with the server. In this case, it's the browser. And every time the work is done, it will terminate the connection. But in case of Playwright, it is a one-time handshake or one-time connection establishment, which means before the test starts, it will say, hey, I'm the test, I need to execute in your browser. The browser will say, hey, good, come, we'll execute the test. It will execute all the steps inside the test in one shot. Once the test is being completed, only then the connection will get terminated. Now, what is the advantage over here? When you wanted to do 100 times, there can be chances that in middle there can be some network issues, there can be some handshake protocol issues, something like that. So the connection could be terminated in the middle of the execution, which will introduce the flakiness. But when it comes to Playwright, there is no chance for flakiness because the connection will be established at the start of the test and the connection will be terminated at the end of the test. So throughout the test, there will be no connection. I mean, there will be no termination between the connection. It will be all seamless, due to which the test will be running in a much more faster pace, and also it will avoid the flakiness. That's the high level difference between the Selenium tool and the Playwright tool. Any question or any doubts so far? Like, I'll conclude with the conclusion. So from the architecture diagram, we got a clear idea that Selenium needs to establish a connection before each request. Whereas in so there are possibilities that some of the requests can take more time to establish connection, which results in flakiness. And Playwright connects to a WebSocket, due to which the connection will be maintained until the completion of the test case execution, which makes Playwright a more stable tool compared to the Selenium. Before we are jumping into the demo part, I'll take 2 minutes before we are doing that. Any questions so far, folks, in this? Let me go to the Q&A. I see some unanswered. Just a second. Yeah. Even though Cypress supports default weights, can you explain the key difference between the Cypress handling weights handling in Cypress and Playwright? Yeah. So Tulsi, the main difference is in the architecture level again. So yeah, I do agree with you that Cypress also handles the weights and everything. The major difference between the Cypress versus Playwright is again in the architecture. What Cypress does is Cypress also handles the weights, but for every test, Cypress will create a proxy server. For example, what the test need to run, a proxy server will be created and the server will interact with your browser. Again, due to this proxy server handling and all those things, there are chances, slight chances compared to Playwright, that can be slump, flakiness can be introduced. But I agree with you that compared to Selenium, Cypress will not have a flakiness, but compared to Cypress, Playwright will be even more stable because of not having any proxy server or anything. It is being directly speaking with the browsers. Abhijit Kumar, I'm new to automation. In which language should I start Playwright, with Python, TypeScript, or JS? Yeah, that's a good question. This answer, I'm not specifically tying it up for Playwright. I'm saying it as a thumb rule for all the audience over here. Any tool which you use, first try to see what is the language on top of which the tool has been built on. For example, in this case, we see that the tool is built on top of TypeScript. So it is advisable to use the TypeScript because, let's say you're written in Java, for example, the entire Java code will be converted into a TypeScript code, which being understood by Playwright, and then the test will get executed. And once the test completes, the response will be converted back into Java. So again, there is a conversion which is happening via API. So there can be slight delay, not a huge delay, but a slight delay when you are using such languages which is not the native one. So I always suggest, when you don't have any dependencies in languages, please go with the language which has been built on top of the tool. So in this case, TypeScript would be the ideal one. I'll take this as the last question because we have time for the demo. Can we learn Playwright without knowing Selenium? Absolutely. You can even kickstart your career by learning just Playwright from scratch, because if you have Selenium's knowledge, the basic advantage for you is you already know how to handle things in the browser. For example, how to take up a locator, how to handle a, let's say, a drop down box, all those things. But if you don't have that knowledge, it's absolutely fine. You can even kickstart your career completely from Playwright, and that's the agenda of this call. We will see how to do that. So in considering for time, I'll switch to the demo. But once it's done, I'll try to dedicate like 5 minutes or 10 minutes at the end of the call to answer most of the questions. So now we'll quickly see that I have explained, I have posted so much about the Playwright, like how good it is and all those things. Let us see in action how really good is Playwright, how it is easy to start working with it. So let me open up the VS Code. So here I have opened the VS Code. So VS Code is basically an IDE. You can use anything of your preference. I prefer for JavaScript and TypeScript projects for VS Code because it has many plugins which you can use of. So I opened the VS Code, and here I'm opening an empty folder with the name Playwright Webinar. It's a completely empty folder. I didn't do any installation. So first thing which you're going to see is how to install Playwright. For the folks who has knowledge on Selenium, you know how it is very hard to install Selenium. What I mean by that, you need to create a Maven project, you need to create pom.xml, you need to add the dependencies for that. For example, if you're working with Selenium with Java, you need to add the dependencies for Selenium WebDriver, you need to add the dependency for Java, you need to add the dependency for TestNG. Like, it's a very big hassle to do all those installations with Selenium. But with Playwright, it's really very simple. You just need to write one line of command. It will do entire setup for you. What is that command? The command is npm init playwright. Let me zoom it here so that people can see it very clearly. So the command which you need to enter is npm init playwright at the latest. So any npm based module, when you need to work on, you have to give the command npm init is basically saying to my module that, hey, you need to initialize. What you need to initialize, you need to initialize the Playwright installation at the rate latest, which means please install the latest stable version of Playwright. Once I give enter, first it will create me a package or JSON. So for the people who has no background in working with an npm based project, your package or JSON is heart of your project. So all the dependency management, all the script management will be handled in the package or JSON. Now when I'm asking to install the Playwright will ask me 5 questions. So it's mandatory to answer to all of them for the first time, because it needs to understand what kind of framework it needs to create for us. So the first question which is being asked is, do we need need to install in terms of TypeScript or JavaScript? So we are taking up TypeScript. So I'm clicking on enter, and it is saying where to put your end-to-end test. So the default folder which is being created by the Playwright is called as test, TESTS, and that's the folder name. You can override it even with the name Vignesh. You can do any folder name. I'm just going with the same folder name, which is test. It is asking, do you need a GitHub Actions flow? For my demo, I don't need a GitHub Actions flow, so I'm going with the false. It is asking, do you need to install the Playwright browsers? So when you remember, when I'm sharing the key features, I told that Playwright supports all the major browsers such as Chromium, Firefox, and WebKit. So imagine if you don't have those browsers installed with you, if you want to install as part of the Playwright installation, you can click on true. So automatically everything will be installed. So you see, first it is trying to create an npm init-y. So this command will basically create a package or JSON for you. So this is the package or JSON which has been created, and then you can see it is trying to install the Playwright. And now it finished installing the Playwright, and now it's trying to install the needed browser. So in this case, the browser which will get installed is Firefox, Chromium, and WebKit. Everything is done super fast. Like, imagine for the people who work with Selenium, like it didn't even take more than a minute to install the Playwright, and everything is already been set here. For the people who works with Selenium, can you guys just put up a message how good it is? Because when you're working with Selenium, let's say even you started learning to install Selenium, everything, it takes more than half an hour or even more than that to do the installation. Yes or no? Can I get some yeses in the chat so that I know everyone is on the same page? Awesome. So it's pretty simple when you have to install the Playwright. Vignesh, is this is the only important thing when we need to notice when we are installing Playwright? No. Installation of Playwright is pretty simple is point number one. The most important thing when you're working with Playwright is, I'll take again the same example on Selenium. When you work with Selenium, when you install Selenium, Selenium will be installed as a plain dependency. That's it. So you open up a class file, you write Selenium, it will just showcase all the methods which are there in the Selenium. That's the only thing which Selenium is capable for. But the advantage of installing Playwright is a predefined framework will be installed as part of the Playwright. So for the people who doesn't know what is a framework is, when you're writing any automation tool, you need to write it on top of, or you need to build something called as framework, which means your test case should be in a much more maintainable state. All your locators should be separated in, let's say, in page object model. You should have all the corresponding like fixtures or the test data handling. Like these are the or for example, let's say you need to have a framework where it automatically takes up a screenshot when the test is failing. These are the mandatory things which you need when you are building a framework. For instance, I already have a course in Udemy for how to build a Selenium framework. That course surpasses, if I'm not wrong, close to 6 hours, which means to build a good framework, it takes close to 6 hours when you're using Selenium. But with Playwright, you don't have to do anything. The basic framework is being sent to you as part of the installation itself. That's the most important thing when you're working with Playwright. What I mean by that. So here you can see, first I'll quickly walk through the project structure before we are writing the sample test. So here you can see the node modules is nothing but all the installation files will be saved in the node modules. And here, sorry, and here you can see the next folder is called as the test folder, because during the installation we have given yes saying that all the test needs to be as under the part of test folder. So it created a test folder, and it also given us a sample test spec file, giving us a heads up saying that, hey Vignesh, if you want to write Playwright test, this is how sample you should write your Playwright test. And there is one more test which is called as test example, which is like a advanced test. Like the previous example test is a very simple test. If you want to write a detailed test, this is how you should write with describe block and all those things. Now, these are the sample tests which is being given as part of the test example. And here I have already explained to you about the package or JSON where it will have all the dev dependencies. In this case, it installed Playwright, which is the current latest version is 1.46, and it also installed TypeNode. So what is TypeNode is any TypeScript based automation. If you're doing, you need this TypeNode installed because this is like a ground which will on top of which the TypeScript code will be running. The most important thing in Playwright when you're installing this is this playwright config.ts. This is the global configuration file. Anything which you need to configure globally, this is where you will come in. So in the demo, I'll try to cover as much as possible in this config file. Now, everything is super. We have installed Playwright. Everything is there. Let us quickly see how to write a simple test. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going into this test folder. I'm just right clicking on it and creating a new file. I'm just writing login.spec.ts. Is it mandatory to give this particular syntax or this particular structure? Yes, absolutely, it's mandatory. So whatever the test name, you can give login, Vignesh, test tab, you can give any name corresponding to your test case which you're automating. It should end with .spec.ts. .spec means that this is a test file or it's a spec file, which means Playwright will pick up only these tests when it's running. And .ts means this is a TypeScript file because we are writing only in TypeScript. Tomorrow, if your project demands to run in JavaScript, you just need to write it with .js. That's the only difference. Now, let us quickly see how to write a simple test. I'm just taking some sample things from the example spec file so that it will be easy for us to start writing. So I'm just copying this and I'm pasting it over here. So the most important thing is we need to import two things from the Playwright dependency. One is the test and second is the expect. So here I'm just writing the test syntax, which is test. And here you need to give a name to the test which is going to run. So I'm going to say login the OrangeHRM. So OrangeHRM, it's a good demo website. So in case if you're practicing automation, you can use this website. So next comma, I'm just saying it's an async. So I'm saying all the actions will happen as part of this method will be in an asynchronous manner. And here I'm feeding this fixture which is called as page. Why I'm specifically mentioning is this. If you guys remember 10 minutes back when I was explaining the key features of Playwright, I told you every test will be running in a different browser context. What I mean by that? Imagine this test, I'm just pasting it like 4 times or 5 times. All this tests will be running in an individual browser context. For example, for all the tests, like it's like opening up a different browser. For example, it is like opening up a new browser, something like this. It's not exactly opening up a new window, but for the guys to give you in a layman terms meaning, it will open different browsers like this and it will run only one test in that. The advantage of doing that is one test result will not be overlapped into others, so the chances of flakiness will be zero. So I'm just reverting everything. So currently we have only one test. And here what I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly write an login scenario. So let me go to this OrangeHRM website. So OrangeHRM. I'll try to post this link in the chat so that anyone who is trying to practice automation, please use this website. It's a very trusted and good website in case if you want to practice the automation. So here, this is the login which I'm going to do. So here, if I pass admin and if I'm passing admin123 and I click on login, you will see it will get login and go to the dashboard page. Now let us see how to automate the same scenario with Playwright. So let me log out and let me go back to the login page. And this is the login page. The very first thing which you need to do in any automation is first you need to visit to that website. So first in everything, you can remember this as a thumb rule when you're working with Playwright. Any line which you enter in Playwright should start with await. Why? Because here you are saying that this is an asynchronous method, which means if you don't give await, it will not automatically wait for the test to get complete or something like that. So we are saying that, hey, the method is asynchronous. So this particular action, whatever the command which I'm writing needs to get completed, then only you need to move to the next command. So that is what it means by await. So here I'm saying await page dot go to. So this go to method, as the simple English term, it is saying what is the website which I need to go to, and here it is expecting me a URL. So I'm just copying this URL, which is the base one, and I'm pasting it over there. So I'm saying to my Playwright, hey, await, which means you need to wait until this routes to the page. So the method is page.goto. Please go to this website. That's point number one. Once it routes to this login page, we need to enter this username field, we need to enter this password field, and we need to click on this login button. Now let us quickly see the locators, and we'll try to do that. So let me right click on this and let me click on inspect. So this inspect mode is where you will find the locators. So if I go to this locator, you see here it has a name and it has a placeholder. So as per the strategy, always you need to give a preference for ID, followed by the name, followed by the data test ID or placeholder, and last is the class. So given said that, I'm going to give the preference to name, and I'm going to write a CSS on top of it. So here the tag is input and it has a name username. So I'm pressing Control F and I'm going to write input within the square brackets. Let me zoom in for easiness. So I have written input. Input is basically the tag name. So here also you can see the tag is input, and I'm writing the square brackets because it's a CSS, and here I'm saying name is equal to username. When I do that, you see it's giving me one of one result. Keep this as a thumb rule when you're working with any automation tool. When you take up a locator, it should have the result only of one of one. So in this case, input name username is a right locator. So I'm copying this and I'm putting it over here with await page dot locator. Anything you work with locator in Playwright, you should use the method called locator, and I'm putting this in single quotes. And what is the action which I'm going to do? So let's say Playwright found this locator. On this locator, I need to type the key. I need to type the text which is admin. So how to type it? The method to use that is called as so this is the method which will fill. So basically it is entering the text which we wanted. So here, what is the text which we need to enter? The text is the username. In this case, it's admin. That's it. Pretty simple. Now, in the similar fashion, I'll quickly write how to fill for. So fill, and I'm typing what is the password which we need to enter. So in this case, the password is admin123. So the structure is exactly same as previous. The only difference is for email, it's a different locator. For password, it's a different locator. So let me inspect the password field quickly. So I'm inspecting the password field. So here you can see it also has a name as password. So I'm going to use the same strategy, input, name, and password. So I'm copying this. So instead of name as username, I'm just removing it and I'm pasting it password. I'm getting one of one. And if I mouse over, it is highlighting the password field correctly. So I'm copying this and I'm putting it here within this locator. So it entered the username, it entered the password. Now, what is the last thing which it needs to do? It needs to click on the login button. So I'm just saying await page.locator, and I'm quickly inspecting this login flow. And here you can see it has a button tag of type submit. We don't have any name, we don't have any ID. So you can give the preference to type submit. So I'm copying this, and here it's with button tag. So I'm writing it as button within the square brackets. I'm writing type as submit. You can see it is giving me one of one result. I'm copying it and I'm pasting it over here. Here, you should not use the method which is fill, because fill method is to enter something in a text box. So here we are not doing any text entering, we are clicking on it. So the method which we need to call is dot click. So basically it needs to click for that. So to click anything, you don't need to pass any parameters. So it's a simple method which is click. Now, if we run this test, it will go to this website. It will enter the username as admin. It will enter the password as admin123. It will click on the login button. As I told you in the introduction itself, a good automation test, which means it has a good assertion. So if I log in to admin123, if this test is being run, it will try to click on this login button, and immediately the test will test will say it's passed. But imagine, just for an example, tomorrow you're working for this OrangeHRM company. You enter the login details. When you click on login, due to some issue in your backend, instead of routing it to the dashboard page, imagine it's routing to Google website, something like that. It's a bug, obviously. So if you have only this as your automation test, will this test do any justification for that? Which means you're basically logging in, but whether the login is passed, the login is failed, is it routed to the right place, will it be justified? So how to avoid it? Can anyone say how we can confirm whether it's been routed to the right place? You can put up in the chat how we can make sure that it routes to the dashboard page. Guys, it's okay if it's wrong, but you can give your answers. It's okay. So the question is that validate the account info title using assertion. Yeah, that's correct. So we basically need to use the assertion. Now, what assertion we need to use? Obviously, we can use the title. That's the very good approach. But unfortunately, this OrangeHRM page will have the same title across any flow. being in dashboard or being in anything, it will always have the same title, which is OrangeHRM. So ideally, what I can see is if I can able to see if the dashboard, let me inspect this dashboard text. If I can able to log in and if I can able to see this text called dashboard, or for example, even more better assertion would be is if I can able to see this drop down, because this drop down will come only if the user got logged in. So if I can able to see if this OXT user drop down tab is being shown, then it's a good assertion or not. So that's the same thing which I'm going to do. So I'm going to copy this class, which is OXT user drop down tab, and it's under span. So I'm going to say span, and I'm going to write with dot this one, or I can simply write dot this one. So what is dot? Let me zoom in. So if people have experience working with CSS, if you want to refer something in terms of ID, you have to use hash. If you want to refer something with class, you have to refer with dot. So I'm putting dot, I'm saying OXT user drop down tab. You can see the result is with 1 of 1. So it is highlighting this Maria Lescu. So I'm just going to use this. But here I'm not going to click on it. I'm not going to get text or something. I'm just going to say whether it's being visible or not. How to say that? So I'm just saying expect. So that's where this expect import will be useful. I'm just saying expect what I should be expected for. So I'm just saying page dot locator, and I'm just passing this locator. I'm saying should be just a second. Mm, just checking the right assertion name. It's visible. So it is to be visible. So to be visible. So await expect page dot locator to be visible. And why am I getting an error here? Yeah, I didn't close the bracket. Yeah, that's my bad. So to be, I'm just saying it's visible. So I'm just saying if this particular dashboard or this drop down is visible or not. Obviously, if it is not visible, the test will fail. I'll try to fail the test and I'll show you why it's how it's failing. So everything looks good. Yeah, Vignesh, it looks good. How to run the test? Running the test is pretty simple. I just need to say npx playwright test. When I enter this command, it will run all the tests which are there under the test folder. Our notion is to run only the login test. So what I'm going to do, I'm just quickly going to delete this remaining test folders because I'm intended to run only the login test. So when I run npx playwright test, sorry, it's npx playwright test. Let me change it. When I'm running npx playwright test, the most important thing which we need to keep in mind is the same login test will be run against Chromium, under Firefox, and under even WebKit. It will automatically run all the tests with against all the browsers. So you can see it is saying it's running 3 tests using 3 workers. So in this case, workers means 3 persons, or you can imagine like 3 imaginative persons are being allocated, where the first person is responsible of running this test against Chromium. The second person is responsible of running this test against the what is this called, the Firefox, and third person is responsible of running against the WebKit. So here you can see all the tests got run and the test got failed. So let us see why it got failed. So here you can see that we are trying to check if the button is visible, but unfortunately the button is receiving hidden. That could be some issue with the OrangeHRM for time being, because time to time we face this issue. So maybe we'll see if the some other button we can try to inspect or something, or maybe for time being I'm just removing the assertion for a second and we'll run the test to see if the test runs successfully. So let me cancel the test and running it again. So if you notice the report which it came here, you see that all the tests are running against Chromium, which is the Chromium based browser. It's running against Firefox, and it's also running against WebKit. If you want to achieve the same thing with Selenium or Cypress or anything, you have to install and maintain all those browsers, and for corresponding browsers you need to install drivers. Handling a seamless test running in parallel is a very big task to that. Believe me, it's like too much of effort which need to be put in to do that. But with Playwright you don't have to do anything. You install it, you write the test, and when you execute the test will be running. That's point number 1. And point number 2, which I want to showcase, is we have very only 10 minutes. I'll try to sum it up quickly. The second major important point is a good framework will have a reporting. So you can go with earlier reporting, extend reporting, any reporting of your choice. But again, for all those reporting, you have to integrate it. But when it comes to Playwright, you don't have to do anything. It will have a by default very, very good reporting tool, which is a HTML based reporting. And here, let's say in the previous test, it got failed. So if I open it, it will clearly say why it's failed. And for now we didn't enable the screenshots, but when we enable the screenshot, it will also attach the screenshot to it. So I'll quickly uncomment this line because I know this test will fail, and I will enable the screenshots. To enable the screenshots, I have to go to playwright config.ts, and here if I scroll down under the use section, we have to write something as screenshot, and I'm saying please take a screenshot when there is a failure. That's it. So let me run the same test once again. I know the test is failing because of some issue with the OrangeHRM website. Now the test will fail, but the most important point is here it will take up a report, and in the report it will also show me a real screenshot why the test is failing. Having a screenshot like this will be really helpful for the debugging purpose. So let the test will pass or fail. Let's see if it's passing or failing. Yeah, the test is failing as expected, which is fine. And here you see it's being passed for one browser and not passed for other browser. As I told you, there is some intermittent issue in OrangeHRM page, but it is fine. So if I open up here, you can see if I scroll down, it will actually have the screenshot, but I'm not sure why it's being added. Let me check quickly. For hooks, I guess I need to run it. Yeah, it's fine. So basically, in the once you enable this and turn it on, you will have the screenshots hooked up there. The last point which I need to mention is I told you that one of the important other key feature is the code generation part. So let us quickly see how to do that. When I need to run this login testspec file, it took me like let's say 5 minutes, for example. Now this can be done even more faster if you guys have no experience in working on with automation. So how to do that with Playwright? So with Playwright, you just need to write npx playwright codegen. When you run this command npx playwright codegen, it will open two windows. One is it will open up a debug window, and other is it will open up the browser window. So you can see it opens two windows. Let me try to keep it side by side. So you can see it opens two windows. So here, this is where it will write all the test case automatically, and this is where you have to do the action. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do the same login scenario manually once again, and you can see it automatically writes the test for me. So I'm going and opening this code generation once again. Yeah. So here, the most important thing is you should not click anywhere outside this browser or something, because I accidentally clicked here. You can see it is trying to click it. We can remove that. So here I'm going to this website. I'm clicking on enter. The moment it goes to this website, you see automatically it is writing the code, which is await page go to, the same exact code what we have written. And here I'm just going to click on this locator. I'm writing admin. You see this, you can focus on both left side and right side. The moment I'm typing anything, you can see correspondingly it is also writing the code for you. I'm clicking on login. The entire test what we just wrote in 5 minutes, you can do that just more less than a minute or even less than that. You can see the test has been created. If you want to copy this test, you can just copy it and go to your let me go back to my Visual Studio Code, and here let's say I'm creating a new test called as login codegen to just give a difference that it's been generated by codegen, and I'm giving .ts. I'm just pasting it. That's it. So imagine in this call, if someone is there who has zero coding knowledge, they will say, Vignesh, I have zero coding knowledge. I have interest to learn it, but at the initial stage, I need some help from someone. You don't need help from anyone. Playwright will help for you to understand how to write a locator, how to write a test and everything. The exact same test, it's been written over here. So this will, if Vignesh can, then you can ask me, then why Vignesh I need to learn Playwright? I can use the locator itself. You can use this code generation for an initial learning phase where you can't understand how to write a test. But in longer run, this will not be a very usable way. The reason is the locators not will be properly generated based on the condition which I told, which will first, it will not check for ID, it will not do the strategy. That's point number one. And point number two is it will do unwanted actions. What I mean by unwanted actions? If you compare, let me just compare both the tests side by side, just to give you a heads up how the test is being generated. If you see in the login spec, we are going to the test. It's also going to the test. This action has been, I'll remove it. And here you see, first it's trying to click on it, then filling it. Actually, this clicking is not needed at all, because just because I clicked on that place and I'm entering it, it is considering that as an action point. So any action you do, it will try to write a test for it. So that's why I'm saying in a longer run, having a code generated test, it's not a maintainable one. But for your initial career kickstarting, if you want to understand how Playwright works, you can definitely use this code generation. Let me go back to the slides. Yeah. we are already at 10, so we'll take up some questions and then we can end up this webinar. So let me go back to the
Yeah,
Q&A.
Vignesh, let me give you questions, okay, so that it handles maximum queries from people.
Yeah, sure, please.
Yeah. This one I'll take a little later. Okay, yeah, this question is a good question.
Okay.
This
Is
is
there
tier 3. Is
any
there a,
situation? Sorry, Ashutosh, what?
so please go ahead and read.
Yeah. Is there any situation where Playwright fails compared to Selenium? So far, my knowledge, actually, it's not true. I can't see any phase where Selenium is taking compared to a greater leap in terms of Playwright. Maybe one thing I can say, it's not a dip or it's a failure. One thing which I can suggest is Selenium is there for a very, very long time, more than 10, 12 years. So the documentations are there. When I mean documentation, people will have some issues. They'll have some community to have that answer. But Playwright, as it's being newly there, at least for 3 years, you might find answers, but everyone will not be able to give a good perspective on it. But it's actually good growing. But still, that's the only drawback which I see. Maybe if you come and attend this webinar 2 years later, maybe there will be even more good communities for Playwright.
So this is from Prasant from US. Okay.
Sure.
In HTML report, how the before hooks and after hooks are coming.
Yeah, I'll show you quickly. So this is not the same and before and after hooks like how we do, Prashant. So in general, I can understand your notion. We didn't write any before hooks or after hooks. Why Playwright is putting it? So if you see the before hooks and after hooks which is being created by Playwright, the before hooks is to if I expand the before hooks, you can see it is creating a fixture as a browser. As I told you, for every test, it will create a new browser context. So it is creating a new browser, it is creating a new browser context, and it is creating a new page. So for this particular test, it is doing all these 3 steps as part of the before hooks, and in the after hooks it will clean up that. So if I go to the worker cleanup, you can see it is being deleting all those things which is being done. So that's the pre and post hook which is being taken care by the Playwright automatically.
Got it. Let's take the last question here. Get this one again from Prashant.
Okay.
Will Playwright support API automation like Cypress in future?
Yeah, not in future. Yeah, not in future. It's already doing. I missed to add that. So currently, Playwright already has a support, very detailed support, like how we can do with the same way you do Cypress. Even more than that, even in Cypress, you can do a very limited API automation, but with Playwright, you can do stubbing, clocking. All those things are much more feasible compared to Cypress.
Got it. I think there are a lot of questions, but in the interest of time, we won't be able to take a lot
Yeah.
of them. So what you can do is you can reach out to Vignesh a little later on social media expertise. He's available there for your queries. He's also available on our Discord server. For members who are part of our fan circle group, he's there on the WhatsApp chat, so you can always have a query. And so thank you so much, Vignesh, for doing this. It's always kind. You're so kind to test drive in general. Do so many things with us, right?
No worries,
So
man. Thank you so much.
and thank you all of you for joining in, right? I always say this, that if you can join so late during the day, you're taking that steps to upskill yourself already. It's just that keep taking those steps, you will have your path and you will get what you deserve. Thank you so much everyone for joining in, and thank you so much, Vignesh, for doing this.
Yeah, just one thing.
And
So for
do share the
people,
feedback, and do
yeah.
share the
So
feedback, because both Vignesh and us will love to have the feedback.
yeah, as Ashutosh told, in case if you guys have, because 1 hour is very, very time limited to say all the good things about Playwright. So as Ashutosh mentioned, in case if you want to know more about the bootcamp, if you want to understand more about the Playwright, please connect with me via LinkedIn. I would be happy to explain it, and requesting everyone to join for the bootcamp, because it's like everything about Playwright will be taught in those 4 weeks. So yeah, looking forward for everyone to join for the bootcamp. Thank you, Ashutosh, for this opportunity, man.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone. We'll see you soon next week.